Good morning, everyone. It's 9 o'clock. I'd like to call the McLeod County Board of Commissioners to order, August 3rd, 2021. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Again, good morning, everyone. We'll start with consideration of agenda items.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
I would like to ask for number 8 to be removed. That was approved at our last meeting. Environmental services.
Are there any other corrections or additions? If not, I'll accept the vote to approve the consent agenda. Or agenda item, I mean.
And second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Nagel and seconded by Commissioner Smalls. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Agenda items are approved. Consent agenda. Any additions or corrections to it? Motion made by Commissioner Wright. Is there a second?
And the second.
Seconded by Commissioner Smalls. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of the consent agenda say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Consent agenda is approved. Good morning, Minnesota Department of Transportation. You're up. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you all in person. Good morning.
Morning.
I'm Lindsay Brewer. I'm the District 8 Planning Director, and with me is Megan DeShepper, our Principal Planner. And this is really nice to get back in person. We've done one in McLeod, or not McLeod County, we're here today, in Pipestone. So you guys are our second meeting. So Megan will be handing out a map of projects and then a presentation of the slides that we'll present today. We put together a few slides just to kind of keep me in line and on track. John gave us a few ideas of a couple things you might want to hear about in relation to projects. And then I just have a little bit of background about our program in general. So if we can go to the next slide. It just is an overview of our funding throughout the next 10 years. And this is our regular program funding. It does not include things like corridors of commerce or additional bond funds, things like that. This is just our regular formula funding. But one thing I'll point out is that it varies over the years. And that is due to a statewide performance program to keep our higher volume roadways in good conditions and meet our federal performance targets. But you'll see it ranges from the mid $30 million per year all the way up in 2028, our biggest program year of nearly 69,000 million. Sorry. So, and that impacts our program delivery staff and construction staff when we have some of those swings. But we can mitigate that by working on projects ahead of time or splitting them over multiple years. So not that big of a deal, but something to be aware of. And the next slide shows on a broader statewide scale, MnDOT's investment direction defined in our 20-year investment plan that we call MnSHIP. And one thing I wanted to highlight here is that we are starting to update that. We update it every 5 years. And you all will have a chance to be involved in that process in the next few months to give input on where you want to see the money go. So when that time comes, we're still a couple months out before they start doing engagement. They're hoping to do some in-person engagement. They'll probably be coming to the ATP, Doug, so you definitely will have a voice there. But please participate in that when the time comes, because this is literally where we define where our money goes. And it's not project specific, but it's the amount of money that goes to pavement or bridges or safety or roadside infrastructure versus, any individual project. And the districts can deviate slightly from this guidance, but we really should align fairly closely. So the next slide, I wanted to just talk about our performance of our pavements and bridges to give you a little idea of where we're sitting at now and what's predicted by the end of our 10-year planning horizon before we start talking about the projects. So right now you'll see we have, we measure pavement condition in a few different ways. Ride Quality Index is one of them, or RQI. And you'll see that most of the map is green, which means pavements are in good condition. There are some in yellow, which is fair. I will say the data is from 2020, and then the van probably wrote it the prior year, so this is a little bit out of date. So like the project on 23 south of Granite Falls was done already, but just isn't updated in this data. But you don't see too many poor roads as of 2020, maybe in some of the urban areas. And the next slide is just a different measure for pavement condition. This is remaining service life. You'll see a lot more yellow and a lot more red in this map. So it's the same year and measures the same roadways just from a different measure of remaining service life. And this is a little bit more telling of what's to come. This basically, whereas the RQI, the Ride Quality Index, measures the roughness on the surface, this tells us how much life is left in the road. And so, like I said, it's kind of an indicator of what's to come. And if we go to the next slide, these are our current performance of our roadways, performance by the end of our STIP, which is the Statewide Transportation Improvement Program, that is a program of 4 years of projects, and then by the end of our 10 years. And so, right now things look really good. And I would bet that you still sometimes hear the public say that roads are in bad condition right now, but look at the data. Things look really good. Even by the end of our 4 years, by 2025, things are looking still pretty good. Our thresholds for poor pavements for the green bar, which is the non-NH or the NHS, the National Highway System, those are our higher volume roads like 212, 23, 71. The threshold for those in poor condition is 4%. So, we're way under that. Now, the threshold for the non-NHS, the lower volume roadways, is 10%. So again, at 3.3%, we're still well under. But look to the end of our 10-year plan, and we're at, nearly 19% of our lower volume roadways are going to be in poor condition. So imagine, you're getting comments about poor roadways now. Things are not looking very good. And the pavements in good condition too, pavements are looking pretty good on both the higher volume and lower volume roadways now, and then you just see the good pavements decline. And so I just wanted to share this information before we start talking about projects, because I think it's an indication of some of the funding challenges that we're up against right now. And we've been working on having a wider variety of fixes to the roadway versus maybe a decade ago. The philosophy was a lot of thin fixes to cover more miles. And that can help in the short term, but it can really hurt us long term. And that's kind of what we're running into right now. So if you go to the next slide, this is similar data, but for bridges. And for bridges, we are in a much better position. You'll see there's not many poor on the NHS or those higher volume roadways. There are some on the lower volume roadways, but again, under our targets. The more concerning thing on these slides is just the percentage of good bridges going down and the percentage of fair bridges going up. But, not nearly as concerning as if they're in poor condition. And even poor condition for our bridges does not mean that they would close. It does not mean they're in critical condition. It just means there might be one element of the bridge that's rated in the poor. And so sometimes that will mean maybe load restrictions or other restrictions on those bridges. But we are, yes.
It's good to see that graph. I mean, it's pretty consistent and even, but it's not so many years ago, it wasn't that good.
Yeah.
I mean, was it the investment in the bridges? I mean, that sounds like a dumb question, but
Yeah.
that brought us to,
No, that's exactly it. I can't remember the year that it was passed, but after the 35W bridge collapsed, the legislature invested in the Chapter 152 bridge program and invested a significant amount of money in bridges throughout the state on MnDOT system and beyond. And that really helped us, get into better shape. You will hear statewide that there's a bridge bubble looming kind of in the 2030s and beyond. And there is a need for the big Blatnick Bridge in D1 connecting Duluth to Superior. And that has a huge price tag, and that's going to take up a lot of bridge funding. But District 8 doesn't have a lot of large bridges. I mean, most of ours are what we would consider like a, I'm blanking on the word, but box culverts. So anything,
and most of our river bridges have been, I remember as growing up, a lot of our river bridges they were low, obviously flood prone.
Oh, sure. Yep. Yeah. So we're doing much better on the bridge performance side than the pavement performance side. So then now we can talk about some of the projects. And so you have on the next slide, there's a map of the projects, and then you have a larger map that just might be easier to see. And then the next slide, I've zoomed in kind of in the McLeod County area. And I'll just go by year, I think. So 2022, some J-turn or reduced conflict intersection projects up on Highway 7, and then one here in Glencoe, just right outside the door, actually. And one thing John asked me to talk about was design vehicle for those and for the roundabouts. And right now, they're still being designed. And right now, the design vehicle is your typical tractor trailer, 53-foot trailer. They have also pulled the oversized overweight permits that go through each of those locations to ensure those larger loads can go through, as well as, ag equipment for signage placing and things like that. And then another project in 2022, but also in 2025, is some culvert replacements on Highway 7 and 22 west of Hutchinson. And the reason that there's 2 years for those is that we, upon scoping, we noticed some of those culverts were not going to make it to 2025. So we'll do them next year, the ones that won't make it, and then follow back up in 2025. And then in 2023 and 24, we have roundabouts, and I'll talk about those on the next slide. And then the last project is in 2027 on Highway 7 and 22. It's a concrete pavement rehab and diamond grinding. We're currently in the process of scoping this project. This is the one that kind of goes through Hutchinson to Silver Lake and then down a little bit on 22. So if you have any comments, on that project, things that we should consider as we scope it, we're doing that right now.
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
And Lindsay, question about diamond grinding. What exactly is it? Maybe John can help me out with that, or some of our SEH guys.
Yeah.
What would it be?
I'm gonna need their help, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I can do it. So the diamond grinding similar to a milling machine, right? It's typically 4 foot wide is their path, but they're stacked basically saw blades next to each other, and it just planes the road off. So the roads you'll see the fix will be like, when you look at the roads, it looks like corduroy. I mean, you see it in the metro, you'll see it in some areas. That's what the diamond grind is, and it just takes the faulting out of when the panels of concrete over the years, when they fault, it'll grind off the faulted panel and get the ride back.
Improved ride quality.
Correct. Yep.
Thank you.
I was just gonna say it would help smooth the roads. Thanks, John.
That's what he said too.
Yeah. So then, the next slide, I just have a few more details about the Highway 7 and 212 roundabout projects. So the one here in Glencoe, and the one up on Highway 7, and talking specifically about the curb styles. And so one of our engineers had given us this diagram, and again, this is still being designed, so nothing is finalized yet, but what they told me is that bottom curb is the R curb, and that's what they use for the inside truck aprons, so that, trucks are meant to drive on it and over it, but that they typically use a B curb, which would be like your standard curb on the outer edges and tapers, but sometimes they'll also use like truck blisters or an S curb, which I think is the middle one, in key areas where trucks will drive over those on the outside edges too. So again, still in the process of being designed, and the design vehicle for that was also your typical 53-foot trailer with tractor, so a WB67. Again, for this, they have pulled the oversized, overweight permits to make sure that anything that's come through in the past, they'd still be able to accommodate. And then the project manager for both of those projects is Alex Wininger, and cost estimates are listed 1.5 million for the Highway 7 roundabout and about 4 for the 212. And I do have a picture of the design currently on the next slide. And one, again, it's still being developed, not final, but one thing to point out is that they are designing it in an elliptical shape to make it easier for the heavier truck traffic on 212 to get through it, to continue on to 212, and then it's mostly passenger vehicles probably on the morning side leg, so this shape should also help the oversized, overweight, and regular truck traffic as well. So that is all I have for you. If you do have questions about any of the projects listed or other ones outside of your your county, feel free to contact us anytime. We update these projects annually, so there's always room for comments and changes and all that. So,
Board, any questions for Lindsay? I just have some comments. It's really important to call. I mean, I have to admit I'm on ATP 8, and the people listen. I mean, and if you don't call in, I mean, I get tons of calls, but they're not calling the right person. I think an example is out on Airport Road or County Road 1 when we had some issues here a few years back. I think a lot of people called, and it actually made DOT kind of look at the road, do some surveys, but I really, I'm not the guy to call. Call in and voice your opinion, and if it's not at the 11th and a half hour, You
Right.
guys listened pretty well, so.
Thank you. And like I said, I mean, we update these projects every year. Our program changes every year because our funding changes every year. So we're doing it anyway.
And I'm actually saying more in styles of roads, problems, parts. I mean, you assume everybody knows, but you're assuming wrong, because not everybody knows, but. John, did you have a question?
Maybe you can mention how to, a lot of those construction projects are online for comment now. If you could mention the websites, how to get to them. These
Oh,
comments on
sure.
the roundabouts and the J-turns.
Yes, thank you. Probably the easiest way, and this is how I do it too, is Google MnDOT District 8. And when you get to the main page, it has a link to click on for all the projects. And then just go down the list, search for, Highway 212 Morningside Roundabout. It'll have its own project page. And then if there are comments open or surveys, a lot of times are on there, even design layouts and things. But the website, each project will have its own page, and you can find out more information there and give your feedback there, as well as, just contacting us too. I have Megan's info and my info on the back, because I'll be taking a little bit of a hiatus in October. So you can contact either one of us and check out the website. It also has current construction projects too, so.
And if it's in this area, I encourage people to leave their name. I mean, it's not, be courteous and use constructive input, and I found that, you'll get an answer at least. You might not always like it, but,
Right.
but you'll get an answer.
Yep.
Lindsay, do you know when the Morningside Drive roundabout will be done through its draft stage and become something final to look at then?
So let me just. It's 2024. It'll probably be within this next year. I can, once it is final, we could have our project manager, at least keep us updated. Kind of when it goes into design and things, we don't always track all those details, but I'll touch base with him, and when they get that finalized, we can share that.
Sure, thank you.
Yep.
It'd really be helpful if we could share that, or even, contact with us. We can
Yep.
give you some room here, even have some
Sure.
kind of an open house or information.
Yeah, I'm sure they will be doing more public engagement once, things keep progressing. I don't, know the timeline for that as of
Sure.
right now, but we will. And I know, John's been involved in that process too, but we'll keep closer tabs on this one and keep in contact.
And we're seeing so many more people blow through the stop signs. I mean, I'm here almost on a weekly basis where either I've seen two myself, but where people are going right through there. And I had mentioned rumble strips before, and now if this is on the docket, I mean, I guess it doesn't pay to do a lot there unless it's going to take longer to get it in than necessary. But it amazes me that people just blow right through there.
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing crashes go up statewide, and it is kind of amazing.
Thank you, Lindsay.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Auditor Treasurer, Connie. Morning, Connie.
Good morning, everyone. Today I have two items. Item A is to consider approving the tree and brush removal quotes by S&S Excavating. They are out of Buffalo Lake for CD5 and CD13. So during the July 6, 2021 County Board meeting, the board decided the tree and brush clearing should be completed this year on County Ditch 5 and County Ditch 13 in advance of a possible cleaning and repair project next year. SWCD Drainage Inspector Adam Lesky received 2 quotes on each system to complete the tree and brush removal. The quotes submitted by Reinert Logging for CD5 for $26,500 and CD13 for $12,500 were the lowest initial offers. Due to an interference outside the county's control, the bidder withdrew his quotes. The remaining quotes for consideration are submitted by S&S Excavating for CD5, $52,300, and CD13, $13,100.
Board? I was I guess I'll lead it off then. I was at the hearings, and I obviously was disappointed that the lowest bidder pulled out his bid, and I don't know why, and I guess it doesn't really matter, but the ditch, in my opinion, is in very bad need of getting this done. It's our obligation to do it, and it has to get done sooner or later. And in the bidding process, we did everything right. That's the next bid up, and I mean, I'm in favor of going ahead and doing it. I'm gonna stop short of a motion, but Nathan, it's in your, or Commissioner Smalls, it's in your district. I don't know if you have any thoughts.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, it is in my district, at least the majority of the work is. And my concern is, we do have a fairly small system. We've already obligated to do the historic review on these systems, and now we're laying on the trees. My question is, when will these assessments come on to the parcels? Can we prorate them out over a period of time so that it's not as much of a hardship on those parcel owners versus them paying it in a lump sum?
We'll have to look at that when I look at all of the assessments this fall. If the work is done this year, I would anticipate that I would assess it this year. But we can talk about that when, at a later date. Again, I do assess the parcels, not the landowners, and it is my financial responsibility to assess.
And I agree with what Commissioner Kruger stated. I mean, I've seen some of CD5, and it definitely is going to need work. And whether we do it sooner or later, the work is going to be done. So again, my concern was just the liability we're putting on the parcels. So if we can deal with that later on, then I believe then that I would move to accept the two bids for CD5 and CD13. CD5 for $52,300 and CD13 for $13,100.
Motion made by Commissioner Smalls. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Wright. Any discussion? I do have a bit of discussion, and the bidder that we are making the motion on right now is very he's liked by the people on the system, and he communicates very well with them. Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of accepting the lower bid for CD5 and CD13, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. Item B is to consider the approval of the professional services agreement with DS Solutions out of St. Cloud, Minnesota, to provide an online election judge training with pricing detailed in Exhibit B of the agreement for a total of $500 using funds from the elections budget. McLeod County has been utilizing these online election judge training services for the past 3 election cycles since 2016 through this trusted Minnesota vendor, DS Solutions out of St. Cloud, Minnesota. The training has proven to be an asset to the county's process of election judge training and provides a valuable standard of training for all election judges to fulfill the requirement of at least 2 hours of training. Benefits to using online election judge training include cost and time savings of county election administration staff, provides listings of completed training courses by user and a history of a user's training at a glance, provides technology advancement and computer exposure to those users, offers flexibility to schedule the training with the user's desired time frame, confirms the user's knowledge through testing, and provides the user with online documentation to reference at any time. The professional services agreement with DS Solutions for online election judge training is offered now to lock in the pricing schedule through 2024.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve.
And second.
Motion made by Commissioner Nagel and seconded by Commissioner Smalls to accept the online election judge training. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Connie.
Thank you.
Have a great day. Public Works, John.
Morning again. First item is to consider award of our state aid project 43615017. That's the intersection lighting project at County Road 15 and Trunk Highway 7. Design Electric out of St. Cloud, Minnesota was the low bid with $27,737. We did have another bid from Granite Ledge Electrical out of Foreston, Minnesota for $39,300. This is the project that is a cooperative construction agreement with MnDOT. MnDOT will cover 100% of the cost of the construction of that, as well as pay us some funds for construction engineering, and then we're on the hook for future power and some minor maintenance on it.
Mr. Chair, move to approve request.
Motion made by Commissioner Smalls to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Nagel. Any discussion?
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
I think we waited a few years for this to become a reality, so I'm glad we're getting there.
I'm gonna miss a regular caller when this gets done. So
Yeah, no, it'll be
I'm
good for the
happy to
corridor
see
and
it
more
as well,
consistent.
so. Okay, all in favor? Any more discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item B, we did accept bids for the processing of the 40,000 tons of Class 5 material at our slat shop. Low bid on that was Reiner Contracting out of Hutchinson. Total cost for that one is $240,675. And other bids received were R&E Enterprise out of Mankato with $259,100, and LMS Contracting out of Casson, Minnesota for $259,775. You recall this was part of this summer's rehabilitation projects. We had excess millings, and we stockpiled them at slats. This bid will bring in more aggregate and process it with that material to put up a stockpile for us. Pardon?
Bids were pretty close.
Pretty close, yeah. Yep.
I'll move to approve.
Motion made by Commissioner Nagel to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Luthens. Any discussion? Real quickly, by doing this, we save, I mean, obviously, when you look at the price tags, it looks like a lot of money, but it saves us a lot of money. I mean,
It's a lot of money, and then the material, I think, for, you know, when we use that blend, 60% aggregate, 40% millings, it's a good material too. It packs and stays nice, and the aggregate
central
sources around
location.
here are pretty getting scarce, so yeah, it works well.
Any more discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item C is consider approval of change orders 7 and 8 for SAP 43-615-13. That's our Morningside reconstruction project. The change orders are related to the changes that were previously approved for the curb and gutter. It states in here contingent upon concurrence from the City of Glencoe. City of Glencoe Council did approve that last night, the concurrence for that. The estimated cost of change order 7 is $167,432.50, and there is no cost associated with change order 8. Change order 8 just moves the completion date farther back this fall.
Is there any, I mean, obviously, now that it's a change order and it's delayed, is there any pressure, lack of a better word, that we can put on to make sure that we get them in and done as soon as we can if this is approved?
We've been in discussions with Dunick, you know, the contractor, and they want to get it as soon as us, but they're stacked up too. But
Sure.
we keep in touch with them. We'll keep the pressure on, right? But otherwise, the latest, the completion day will be now October 31st for paving, and then the final cleanup November 15th for this year. So I hope we'll be ahead of that, but we'll just have to see.
Sure.
Mr. Chair, I'll move to approve.
Motion made by Commissioner Wright to approve. Is there a second? I'll second it. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of change orders 7 and 8, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And last item is to consider approving some additional engineering services from SEH out of Hutchinson. SEH, as you know, is the consultant working for us on the Morningside project. Total cost of the changes, $39,712. Changes are being requested primarily for the extra work related to the curb and gutter work on that. Also we've had changes to, early on in the project, as you recall, we went from concrete pavement to bituminous pavement, which saved us a lot of money up front. There was work involved with that. Some utility coordination with Great River Energy. We did some work for that. And then, we know, we also hit some construction debris, some demolition material. Wasn't as bad as we thought, but there was work associated with that. And I guess if there's other questions specific to that, Justin or John are here from SEH, they can address it.
I'd have a question of how, so this is not all related to our change, is that what you're telling me? I mean,
The curb and gutter and median changes, that is the first one, that's 20,600. And the remainder are since the project inception, for those reasons stated.
Board, have you got any questions for John or SEH? I have none. I'll accept a motion to approve the change order.
Move to approve the change order.
Motion made by Commissioner Wright. Is there a second? I'll second it. Any more discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Guess one last thing I'll add is, those that haven't seen it, but the County Roads 2 and 3 did get opened up last week that was the big construction for the summer, and so that's good.
There's quite a few signatures out on my way already that people have put on the new road, so.
Oh, yeah?
Mr. Chair, John, before we cut you loose, where are we at with the seal or chip sealing in my district?
Yeah, the last we heard from them was late July. Obviously, we're past that. We've been in touch with them some more. We don't have an exact date yet, but I'm anticipating here any next few weeks.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll put a news release out prior to that.
Any other questions for John? Thanks, John. Building maintenance, Scott, you're up. Morning, Mr. Grivna.
Good morning. Morning. All right, I've got one item here. Consider approval to award Schwickert's Tech to America out of Mankato a roof repair project for environmental services for a total of $57,745 using funds from the county building's major repair budget. The area that's covered under the repair is the front or south portion of the facility. And this is an anticipated repair which was included in the 2021 budget. Pricing has been negotiated through the National Cooperative Purchasing Alliance.
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead, Commissioner.
And Scott, I mean, I read through the packet. Is it my understanding then that basically we're re-screwing or just replacing the anchors, or is there more?
Yeah, they're going to be replacing all the fasteners or a good portion of the fasteners that have failed, and then all your seams are going to will be resealed as well.
Is this the same contractor we used for the Fairgrounds project?
Yes, it is.
Okay. So we had a few pickups with that, right? And
I do recall, yep.
so just, I guess,
No, we are meeting with them tomorrow over over the fairgrounds work that they've done.
okay. And then are they, the answer is yes, but just for they're fixing the Fairgrounds problem, right?
Correct. We're holding them accountable. We're holding off on those future buildings until we get some clarification.
Yeah, I guess to oversimplify it, I don't want to go through it on this building like we are there, right?
Correct.
So, all right, I'll move to approve. Please pay attention to. I'm sorry.
Certainly.
I know you will. All right, move to approve.
Motion made by Commissioner Nagel. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Wright. Any more discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. County Administration, review of calendars. Go ahead.
Employee relations is first on the agenda.
Did I miss that? Oh, I apologize.
That's
I
okay.
shouldn't have missed you, Hannah.
It's okay, no problem. Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Just have one item this morning. Item A, consider approval of the Ultimate Kronos Group, or UKG, Human Resources Timekeeping and Payroll Package Contract with McLeod County for a total cost of $55,293.75, using funds from the Information Technology budget. McLeod County is one of the 13 Minnesota counties adopting this Human Resources Information System timekeeping software and payroll package with Minnesota Counties Computer Cooperative, or MNCCC. MNCCC conducted a request for proposal, surveying and meeting with multiple human resources information system providers, timekeeping software, and payroll program providers, as well as talking with current users of these programs over the last year and a half. And McLeod County has been a part of that user group who is conducting the RFP. UKG rose to the top due to their customer service, the IT support, and their capability to create county-specific reporting. The impact of this program will really improve the HR and payroll efficiencies and improve employee utilization. The initial cost for this program is $55,293.75, which has been budgeted for in the information technology budget. Moving forward, the quarterly cost of the program is $17,077.50, which has also been budgeted for within the information technology budget. Additionally, our current payroll system is 15 years old and will no longer be supported starting January 2022.
Mr. Chair, I just
Go
want to
ahead.
add into this that Hannah, Colleen, and myself spoke a bit as well about the merit system costs that we no longer will have starting in 2022. You all know that the Health and Human Services staffing was covered by the merit system, and McLeod County, along with many other counties in the state, have applied to remove themselves, and we've been approved to do so. So Colleen and Hannah worked to find the cost of that annually. In 2020, it was $18,960, and that cost would be continuing to increase. So that is one of our cost savings, which this applies toward covering that area. We have all of that HHS staffing and recruitment covered now within the Employee Relations Department, so that is one cost savings that could maybe be calculated into this. Thank you.
I talked a little with Hannah. I'm mainly listening to Colleen, and she seems comfortable with this, and which makes me feel comfortable. So, I guess with that, I'll move to approve the contract with UKG for $55,293.75. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Nagel. Is there any more discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Hannah. Sorry again. We took out that one part and I flipped the page, so. A little excuse is better than none at all. Go ahead. Commissioner's calendar. Darrell, go ahead.
Good morning. Thank you. We'll back up to July 20th, 21st, Tuesday was their workshop. On the 22nd, Alice Chalmers was in town at the fairgrounds. 3 of us commissioners attended a banquet that evening. The Alice Chalmers committee invited us and thanked us for the use of the fairgrounds. Very good program put together. 27th, Tuesday at noon, we had a Employee Enrichment Development Committee meeting, planning some picnics and get together for our workers. And then that morning we had McLeod Health and Human Services. Moved on to the 28th, Wednesday, Planning Advisory Commission. And today, County Commissioners. Thank you.
Commissioner Wright.
Okay, we had our CRF Coronavirus Relief Committee meeting. I also attended the Hutchinson Joint Planning meeting. Our item there was on our consent agenda, item D. As Commissioner Luthen's indicated, a few of us were able to attend the Orange Spectacular banquet, and also went through their show a couple of times throughout the weekend, and how nice it was to see our McLeod County Fairgrounds being utilized by thousands of people coming through our county again, showing off our fantastic fairgrounds that we have. 7:29, Commissioner Kruger and I and Commissioner Nagel attended the consolidation hearing for Judicial Ditch 18. In the end, we decided that it was not to the best interest of all the landowners to go ahead with that, so the petition was denied. Attended a Morningside construction meeting yesterday, as well as interviews for our economic development director. And that's it.
Thank you. For me, almost identical, but we had our CRF on relief committee meeting on the 21st. 27th was HHS and community health board meetings. Another CRF on a relief committee meeting on the 28th. I had an HRA meeting also that afternoon, or that at noon. The JD8 consolidation meeting was commented on by Commissioner Wright, it was not. We felt it was not in the best interest, fair and equitable to all people involved in that process to go ahead with the consolidation. I had agenda review on the 29th as well, with broadband discussion with Mid-Minnesota Development Committee, just going through different ideas on who we could possibly partner with or what we can do to increase the service of broadband in McLeod County. Yesterday, started the morning with Morningside, with some discussions with SEH and our county departments on the Morningside situation, and pretty much the rest of the day was done with interviews, which brings us to today. Commissioner Nagel.
Thank you. Following a board meeting and workshop last 2 weeks ago, I had a personnel committee meeting where we met at the fairgrounds and reviewed several items that will be on future agendas. Health and Human Services meeting was in Marshall for the Southwest West Central meeting, and discussed a lot on the insurance piece of that. This time where there was a joint powers meeting regarding insurance, which is probably what directly affects McLeod County and part of why we're on that board. Public hearing we talked about a little bit in Sibley County, where we did not decide to consolidate those systems. Stopped at the Orange Spectacular, and it was very nice to see the fairgrounds used, and it was utilized very well. Lots of people, thousands of people came through there. And then also at the fairgrounds, it was nice to see that, I'm not exactly sure what to call it, but it was a convoy of older military vehicles that came through town, stopped at the fairgrounds, some stayed there, and so I stopped out there and visited with them a little bit too. So that's it.
Thank you, Commissioner Schwalm.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Like was stated, July 20th, we had our county board meeting, followed by our workshop in the morning, and that afternoon I had a well-being committee meeting that I took part in by Zoom from my home. Wednesday the 21st, we had Public Health Advisory Board meeting at 7:30 in the morning, again by Zoom. And I'll echo what a few other commissioners has said. On the 22nd, participated in the Orange Spectacular festivities, and it is amazing on what they bring to town and how they utilize the fairgrounds. I would have to say there wasn't much of the fairgrounds that they didn't use. I mean, I think they were in everything except maybe Paul, just a couple of the buildings.
The roofs. I don't think
Yeah.
they used
They
it.
pretty well used it all.
So it's evident what it does, bringing that event to our communities and our fairgrounds. The following week, the 27th on Tuesday, we had HHSC committee meeting here in our government center. And I think we all attended that. And I believe for me, it was like the first committee meeting that I've done in person and live. So I think now I have to get used to that, because the only way I knew we were doing these committee meetings was by Zoom. That's how I started out, working through this pandemic and this job. So looking forward to, getting out about and doing some of these in person. And gets me to yesterday, Monday, we had Nurse Family Partnership, or Supporting Hands, it's called, Nurse Family Partnership in Olivia. Renville County's the host. Barrett and I did attend, and the takeaway from that is we went through an explanation on how to comply with open meeting laws, especially pertaining to joint powers boards, and why it's important to attend in person. And the criteria that we need to follow if you are attending by Zoom to comply with open meeting laws, which is, it's got to be posted properly and you have to be accessible to the public. And lastly, I'll say that from yesterday's meeting, the executive director, Flatten, we went through his review, and he comes through his review with high marks, and we're all pretty pleased with what he's done. And he shared with us that he's now been there 5 years, and I think things are going very well compared to the way it started out. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Just before you go, Sheila, a small little comment. I missed the Orange Spectacular this year, and it killed me to miss it. I only have one orange tractor, but I just wanted to say that if there's any big red people listening or green people, you could always try to outdo them at our fairgrounds. So, Sheila, go ahead.
Mr. Chair, if I might add a couple.
Go ahead.
There's a couple of things you ought to be aware of. One of which is that there is a national settlement process on the opioid litigation that involves the distributors paying about $21 billion, that's a B, and Johnson & Johnson paying about $5 billion. Minnesota is in line to get somewhere around $300 to $400 million of that. You are litigants in that matter, and I'll be attending on the 11th a meeting at the Hennepin County Government Center regarding all of the attorneys for the plaintiffs that have brought that litigation. So if you recall, Meeker and Sibley are involved in that also. Hennepin County is, and there are quite a few others. So stuff will be coming to you in the future about this. The primary focus on these funds is going to be future treatment for drug-addicted people. The second thing that you ought to be aware of is that you are scheduled to have a jury trial regarding the Blazinski condemnation. We had a pretrial on that this morning. The jury trial is set for August 31st. I'm going to be meeting with Commissioner Schmalz and John Brunkhorst after your workshop today, and we have a settlement offer, and you may hear more about that at your next meeting on the 17th. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Sheila?
I have nothing to add, Mr. Chair.
Thank you as well. Brings us to open forum.
No, I have two.
Oh,
items.
I'm sorry,
I just-
administration.
No. Item A, consider approving the request from the Coronavirus Relief Funds Committee recommending to allocate American Rescue Plan Act dollars in the COVID County Relief 25-003 fund on applicable county expenses in increments of up to $5,000 per qualified expenditure, not to exceed $50,000 in total without further approval. Funds in the amount of $3,485,897 have been received to date from the first tranche of the American Rescue Plan Act funds, which our funds came from the federal level. The CRF committee continues to monitor applicable and prohibited fund usage and will bring forth any recommendations as they occur. These funds must be committed by December 31st, 2024, and spent by December 31st, 2026. The second tranche of funds is expected to be received by June of 2022, and the CRF committee expects to submit an allocation recommendation in the fall of 2021. So the allocation recommendation that we are working on, a timeline and essentially buckets of where these dollars would be placed. Of course, that can change. However, we're trying to organize the dollars, put them where they would best be fit. During that time, the county will have qualified expenses. And that is why we are asking for up to $50,000 to be able to be used for qualified expenses, not to exceed a $5,000 per increment.
Any questions for Sheila?
I will add as well, I'm meeting with the city and county administrator group this week, which includes myself and representatives from each of the cities are invited. We're meeting in Winstead, and we're going to talk about what all of the cities have been working on and planning. We stay in contact with the townships, continue to make ourselves available for meetings. We have some scheduled, which we're meeting with, and so things have been moving forward, but carefully.
Thank you, B. Do you want to handle that as well, or?
Yeah, we need a motion on A, so.
I didn't see a board action there. Where did I miss?
Not have a star by it, and it does need an action, so we may have to move it to the next meeting.
We can take action on it.
We can.
You can take action. Move to approve.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Motion made by Commissioner Nagel and seconded by Commissioner Wright. Any more discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. We
Thank
will
you.
provide you with that information if there are expenditures, so you just may be seeing them after the fact. Item B, consider approving the attendance, cost of registration, transportation, and lodging at the Minnesota Transportation Alliance's fly-in event scheduled for September 21st through the 23rd, 2021. Asking for attendance for John Brunkhorst, our County Engineer and Public Works Director, using funds from the Highway Administration budget, and also for Nathan Schmalz and Joe Nagel, our commissioners, using funds from the Board of County Commissioners budget. Commissioners Nagel and Kruger and myself and former Hutchinson City Council member Steve Cook attended this event in 2019. This event brings together representatives of local government and the transportation industry to advocate for transportation needs in Minnesota through state and federal representatives. Attendees will work with other county representatives to meet with congressional delegation, members, and staff. This is a very busy event, and that staff and those representatives have limited time to meet with the commissioners and anyone else attending. So John, when they are there, the meetings often happen at the same time, so they do have to split, or we partner with other counties while we're there to go and meet with those representatives for joint efforts. I believe that you can see the effort paying off with Highway 212 carrying out towards Glencoe, which is great. That was definitely due to some of the work from our commissioners, Commissioner Kruger and Nagel, who were out there last time. They did a great job working with that and have been commended as well. So we are asking for those three to attend.
Mr. Chair, I strongly support these opportunities. It's an opportunity to, bring our concerns to DC, and then also bring those topics back here for discussion. And the networking that happens is a very, just an outstanding tool to use. And so I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion made by Commissioner Wright to approve the travel to Washington DC. Is there a second? I'll second it. Any discussion? I have a little discussion. I'm going to reach out to, obviously Tom Emmer is the congressional representative for that district, and he'll be very helpful to you. And I'm going to reach out to Fishbach's office, because we did a lot of work with Colin Peterson's office, and now we need to get Ms. Fishbach up to speed. And she's willing. She does happen to share some aides from Emmer's office, not share them, but she picked up some aides from Emmer's office that are very familiar with 212. And being it's out of their district, but it's so helpful to their district, we really that support is really, really a plus. So I will reach out, and if I find any contacts that need to be addressed, I'll get them to Joe or Nathan. I wish I could go, it's just not, through some family concerns and other things, I just can't get away, so.
Mr. Chair, I want to add that when I attended with the commissioners, there was a lot of work to be done to organize the event. I can't attend this year. However, we will help them ahead of time to make sure that their time is organized, because they really only get probably 2 to 3 hours of free time a day on that trip. And that's mostly spent meals with other people and such. So we'll do our best to support them before they leave and while they're there.
Yeah, thank you, Sheila. Commissioner Smalls, you'll have, I'll do as well with, Joe already knows most of them, but with that, the conservation, or the alliance is pretty big and broad, but if you're gonna drill down on 212, that 212 committee, will be very, you'll like a lot of them people. They're very good to get to meet with, and they work endlessly on 212, so I'll do what I can to help that along. Any more discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Now we're to open forum. Anyone have anything for the good of the cause? Press relations, Karen? Thank you. I'll take a motion to recess until August 17th, 2021, 9 a.m. at the Government Center here, 520 Chandler Avenue North in Glencoe.
So moved.
Motion made by Commissioner Wright,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Luthens. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. The meeting is recessed.